I'm gonna share my screen now. And thank you so much, boss, for the introduction. I was flattered anyways, but I know that's how you do to your boys. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Just 1 second. So the screen is coming up. All right, so then I put this on the screen. All right, so once again, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks a lot for joining the session today. It's a pleasure to be here with every one of us and to be discussing this with us. Okay, looks like somebody took over the screen. Oh, what's happening? Okay, good. All right. So what we want to discuss today, I'm aware that we had some pre-talks around late in the morning earlier today. So here we would sort of step it up a bit, and from there we'll see what will be next. So first is, before I go into some introduction and some things about the conversation, I just want to hear from us to know when you saw this topic as what we'll be discussing this afternoon, creating visuals and reports in Power BI to answer business questions. What came to your mind? What were the things that sort of went through your mind and you were thinking, okay, this could be relevant to this particular conversation? If you want to speak, you could let me know. This is not going to be a lecture per se, so I need us to talk. Anybody? Or when
Good
you saw this
afternoon.
topic,
Good
okay,
afternoon,
good.
Mr.
Good afternoon.
Mute.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Please
Well,
go
the
on.
moment I saw this topic, what came to my mind was, okay, we are going to have visuals that will answer maybe business issues. Like if we have an organization and we need to look at how profitable the organization is, or if they are making losses, or what they are really into, those who are patronizing them, like what the organization is all about, how we can visualize the whole thing. That was what came to my mind when I saw it just now.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Aisha. Ali, do you have an addition? Is Ali here with us? I'm not sure Ali is here with us. Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? When you saw this topic, what came to your mind? Not necessarily premising on what you've discussed prior. Okay, yes, Mutia, please go on. Um, Dr. Sir,
Okay.
please, could you help
What
us
came to
mute
my mind
Ali?
with this topic is
Okay,
that we are going to be having a practical section, like a hands-on practical section on what we have learned so far in Power BI, applying all those skills we have learned in a real-time situation. That's what I think that's what came to my mind with the topic. Thank you.
okay, excellent. Thank you so much for that. All right, so let's go into it now. But before then, I just want to set the foundation, which is we all will understand the topic, the keywords we have in this topic, and then when I'll go further to now say that, okay, this is what we want to achieve. But just to prep our mind to sort of whet our appetite, we have a case study we're going to look at today. So it's not so much conversational. So we're not discussing so much of a concept. So the concept we'll be discussing will be more at the start like this, maybe 20 minutes or thereabouts into the session, after which we now look at a case study and then we build a solution to that case study itself. So we would have so many valuable things to learn from the session today. So from this topic here, we have visuals as a keyword, report as a keyword. Of course, we all know Power BI, and then business questions. So three key things that we need to understand first here: visuals, reports, and business question. Question to everyone on the call: what does visuals mean in the concept of Power BI? Yes, Sarah, want to go? Or who wants to go on that? What does visual mean? I'm assuming that this must have been defined prior to this moment, since you had a class earlier on visualization. Anybody? Sorry, Mr. Ahmed, please, you could assist to mute Aliu. He's now with us and is sort of disturbing us. Okay, Mutia, I see your hand up. Please shoot. So please, anybody that
Thank
wants to
you.
speak, you could raise your hand first so that we make things in an orderly manner. Mutia, go on.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam. Visuals can be defined as a representation of values in a graphic format. Using graphic format in terms of maybe table, pie charts, or that can help to one summarize the results and also interpret the results in a more understandable way. So that's my own example of visuals. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mutia. And I think Gania also said almost the same thing on the chat, which is pretty much in line. So just a second.
Ó dẹ̀ mọ mẹkáníìkì. Ó mọ mẹkáníìkì, àwọn mẹkáníìkì náà mọ̀ra. Bẹ́ẹ̀ pé tí máa ń pàdé wọn ní.
Sorry,
Kẹ̀lẹ́ tó
Leo, if anyone is able to mute him, okay, all right. So when we talk about visuals, so what you define, yes, it's closely to visuals in literal terms, or when we talk about visualization per se. But when we talk about visuals as a terminology in Power BI, so Power BI has some terminologies that in a way they are different from how they are used in everyday English, or how people that are stakeholders in the field of data visualization will perceive things to be. I'll give us an example in a moment, but let's take it a step at a time. When we talk about visuals in Power BI, what we're talking about are every single chart options that you have in Power BI. Those are your visuals. So when you look at the visualization pane, what you see on the visualization pane, what you see there, you see a stacked column chart, you see a stacked bar chart, you see a line chart, you see a card, you see a funnel chart, you see an area chart. All of these are visuals in Power BI. So when you're talking to somebody who is a Power BI person, or you're discussing amongst yourself and you're talking about Power BI, and somebody tells you that, what visual did you use? Then your mind should strike that the question that the person is asking is related to what chart did you use? So that is number one. When we talk about reports in Power BI, reports by Microsoft definition is a collection of visuals. So your visual, when you're looking at a report page, you first probably added a card visual there. And then next you added maybe a table visual, you added a matrix visual. A combination of all of this visual is what will give birth to a report. All right. So which in Power BI simply implies that you can have multiple pages of report, because as soon as you are on a page of Power BI and you have two or more visuals on that page, that naturally gives birth to what is called a report. And because you know that in Power BI you can have multiple pages, so it implies that you can have multiple pages of report. So the next question to you now is, What is the difference between a report and a dashboard? Or are they the same? If they're the same, just tell me they are the same. If they're different, tell me the difference.
Somehow. Dashboard contain your report.
Dashboard contains reports.
Oh my God.
Okay. Dashboard contains reports. Okay. I know you didn't want us to hear that maybe, but we had you, which is fine. But here they are different. Okay, what's the difference? But again, is just to chip this in, one thing you should learn to do in this journey. Okay, so you want to become the super analyst that you so wish to become. One of the key skill sets that you must have is to be confident and to be a good communicator. If you don't have this, even if you are technically sound, you may not go so far in your journey. So please, as much as possible, if you are able, if you have the chance to express yourself over something, use that as a learning ground to get better at that skill set. Latifa, please go on. Okay, not sure Latifa is here. Another person who wants to assist us with the difference between a report and a dashboard.
Can I?
Yes, please.
The report has multiple pages, and dashboard can only be on a page with few visuals, unlike what you have on a report.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Tolu. Let me take us back a bit. You probably would have heard it, or maybe you've seen it online. So somebody posts on LinkedIn and they're saying that this is my dashboard. Somebody posts on or records a video on YouTube and they're saying that, okay, this is my dashboard, this is this dashboard, this is that dashboard. The word dashboard is loosely used most times, and this is because of the fact that there is a school of thought that says that report and dashboard are the same. And in fact, when you read some books of visualization, so there are a lot of books on data visualization, but from the very excellent ones that you may want to read, I mean, authors are books written by Edward Tufte. Edward Tufte is generally believed to be the father of visualization. And you also may want to read some works of Nancy Duarte. But when you read some works of Edward Tufte, you will see him use report and dashboard interchangeably in some ways. And this tells you that in some school of thought, they probably would see dashboard and reports to be almost the same. But when we come closer or inner into Microsoft technologies, Microsoft terminologies, the contextual meanings that Microsoft give to dashboard and report, they are different. And the difference is what Tolu mentioned, or one of the differences is what Tolu mentioned, which is reports can run into multiple pages, but your dashboard can only be one page. So it's not possible that you have a dashboard that is on multiple pages. Think about it this way. When you look at a dashboard of a car, what you see on a dashboard of a car is a single screen. You would never have to scroll on a dashboard of a car. Whereas when you're looking at your audio player on your car, you would see that it's possible that you have you scroll through multiple screens, especially if it's an Android device. But the point there is that the dashboard is usually created from a report, but you get very key things that are supposed to be monitored. Those are the things that you pull out from your report and you put on a dashboard, just like the dashboard of your car. The dashboard of your car does not tell you every single thing that is happening to your car. or that is happening about your car. Rather, it tells you the key things. You need to know the fall level. You need to know the pressure of your wheels. You need to know at what speed are you traveling. Just some key details, the temperature of your car. Those are the key things that a dashboard would normally give to you. And whenever you're working in Power BI, every single thing that you do on the Power BI desktop, they are all reports. You can never create a dashboard on the Power BI desktop. Dashboards are only created on the Power BI service. So I'm aware that you'll be having a conversation on Power BI service. So maybe at that point in time, the facilitator will show you how dashboards are created on the Power BI service. But this is just to make us know that dashboards and reports are not the same. So now we've tackled two of the key things that we have in our topic. We've talked about visuals, which is every single chart options that you see in Power BI is a visual. And when you begin to have a collection of these visuals, it becomes a report. And now business questions. What does business question mean? So business question essentially is about what the business are looking to answer based on the reports that they request that you create for them. I will take that again. So the business is looking to answer some questions. And by business now, we are talking about the company, the organization. They're looking to answer some questions, but these questions need something factual to back it. So we need data to back it. We need something factual to back it up. And that's why they have come to you as their analysts to tell you that these are the questions that we have before us, and we need you to go answer this question by way of creating a report that we can consume to see all of your findings and all of your results. So, which means this conversation today would be about how can we create reports using the right visuals to answer a sample business question. So I'll go into the conversation now. Now that the topic is clear, so in a way, our expectation of this conversation is super clear. All right. So quickly about me, my name is Mohsen Hamid. I like to write it Mohsen H because I want to force everybody to call me Mohsen and not call me Moshin. So that's why I normally would abbreviate my surname. So my name is Mohsen, and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. I have a couple of other certifications. Been in the business intelligence space for more than 5 years or around that period. And I've trained more than 10,000 participants at various levels. Some are very senior people when it comes to, working with data and doing advanced presentations, which is data related. I've built analytics solutions for a number of organizations in different industries. So in Nigeria here, we have a Power Platform user group in Nigeria, which at the moment I'm the community technical officer for the Power Platform user group in Nigeria. I used to be the program manager for Data Jobs Nigeria, and at the moment I'm a co-lead for the Power Platform user group in Oyo State. So for those of us that we are in Oyo State, we might be catching up at some of our events in Oyo State, which our boss, Dr. Ahmed, is one of our founding fathers of that community. All right, so nice to meet everybody. So the agenda for this conversation, introduction of key terms, which I've done already. We'll talk briefly about what's important in data visualization. What are the things that you need to pay rapt attention to when it comes to data visualization? Coupled with that, I'll be discussing some key concepts, and then we look at a case study that we're going to build something for in Power BI. What's important in data visualization? These are the key things for me, all right? And this, in a way, I hear some experts also say things that are related to this. Number one, in your data journey, especially with Power BI, please, please, please learn data modeling properly. Why am I saying data modeling? Because data modeling is the engine that drives your visualization. If your data is not modeled the right way, the very first problem that you will always run into is that you would always be writing complicated DAX. your DAX would always be complicated because your data is not flowing in the way that Power BI was wired. So you need to ensure that you know data modeling very well, especially you are thinking into the future, you are building a star schema, all of the things that you probably would have been taught in your data modeling class, ensure that they sync well with you. And many times the reason why this is important is that data modeling is an aspect that people do not pay so much attention to. What many people are after when they are talking about Power BI is they want to build those nice stuff, those fancy stuff, those beautiful stuff. That's what everybody wants to build. But your beautiful stuff, your fancy stuff will make no sense to the business if you are not building for the future. And what will make you build for the future is for you to learn modeling very well so that if your reporting is monthly based, you are not rebuilding the same report every single month. You build it once, and because of the way you have wired your data model, any new data that comes in, you only have to refresh your model. It picks all of those up and your report is ready. Number two, give preference to insights over design. This cannot be overemphasized. What does this mean? A lot of us will misplace our priorities when it comes to reporting. It's not restricted to Power BI. Even when you're reporting with Excel, you're reporting with Tableau or other visualizations too. What you will realize is that many people at the start of listening to the business question or the request from the stakeholder, the first thing that comes to their mind is how do I design this report? Design is not the first thing. Typically, when I build reports, what I do is that if I have 3 days, for example, to build a report, day one, what I do on day one will be that I fetch all the data that I need and I sit closely to build out the data model that works. That's what I do on day one. Day number two, I pay attention to all of the calculations that I need to write. I write all my DAX, every single thing. And writing of DAX may eventually spill into day number three. And maybe half of the day number three is what I will now use to build the visuals and design. So essentially is what you should take your time to think about the most is ahead of the request that the stakeholders have given to me, what are some of the extra insights that I can give to them that would enhance their decision making, that will make their life easier using this report over the design of the report? Because truthfully, when you get into the business, what the business is after is you giving them what is useful to them, what is usable to them, what makes sense to the business, what would enhance the decisions of the business. It is only much later that people are now concerned about how you actually designed that report. Design is never the first thing. So you need to not misplace priorities when it comes to you working in Power BI. Pay attention to the insight. Take your time to think about it properly. What are some of the extra things you can add that would give better interpretation to what you're trying to pass across? All of those are important, much more than the design, but not to say that design is not important as well, but do not miss this priority. Number three is that you should implement the clap principle in your design. So now you want to now go into the design of your report, implement the CLAP principle. What does the CLAP mean? It's an acronym for contrast, linkage, alignment, and pattern. Contrast, linkage, alignment, and pattern. What does contrast mean? Just like as we know. So in design and in data visualization generally, we have the concept of pre-attentive attributes. So what does pre-attentive attributes mean? And I'm introducing us to some of this concept because I want us to see the reason why after this set of sessions that you probably would have learned a lot, foundational things, you're super ready to go for that internship, to go for that entry level role. Never think that your journey ends there. So there are lots that you need to study, there are lots that you need to read if you want to be somebody that would be, referenced, or somebody that people would want to always relate with, see as a subject matter expert in this field. So there are a lot you need to read. One of the things you need to understand is pre-attentive attributes. So, and it's a case of how do you call people's attention to certain parts of your visual. There are certain things that are more important than the other things when you arrange your report page. How the principle of how you arrange things and how you manage how people will look at or consume your report and what pattern, in what way, those are the things that we have under pre-attentive attributes. You may want to go read further on that. But contrast means that you vary the color, for example. So now you might leave, if, for example, the current month of the year is April, and you want people to focus on the bar that represents April and focus less on the other bars, you give April bar a color that stands out, and then you gray every other thing. That is a contrast that you have created there. So that is what that means. So it's just a way of ensuring that something stands out over every other thing that you have within your report. The other thing there is linkage. So linkage implies that how do you organize your report page so that things that are related are together. You have a section of your report that is meant to speak to speak to sales. You have a section of your report that is meant to speak to profit. How do you organize the report page so that everything that is meant to be for profit are all put together and the users consume it that way? They are not mistaking something that is meant for profit to be for sales, and then they are misinterpreting your numbers. So that is what linkage is about. We'll see practically how all of this will be implemented in Power BI. Alignment. You also, A is for alignment. You need to ensure that you align all your visual elements the right way. One of the major turnoffs for me when I look at people's report is once I see that one card is somewhere around Ibadan, there's another card that is staying around Tollgate or staying around Agege. It's a throw off. Things must be properly aligned. They have to be, if those things are supposed to be at the same level, you must use Power BI to ensure that they are on the same level. People will start dragging, and then you are moving this, oh, it's 0.1 centimeter above the other one, and then you are trying to drag the other one. Power BI has elements for you to align things properly, so you don't need to do all of the stress. So alignment is key. You need to pay attention to that. And lastly is pattern. And pattern is just about creating uniformity within your report. Your fonts should be uniform. Your colors should be uniform. Things should all blend with one another in your report. So that is the CLAP principle. C for contrast, which implies how you vary, how you make something stand out from the other. Linkage is about how you group things together in your report. A is alignment, ensuring that things are properly aligned. And pattern, P for pattern, which is about how you ensure that there's uniformity in the visual elements that you use. And the last thing that is pretty important in data visualization is you should place people over Power BI. What does this mean? A lot of the times, your stakeholders will come to you and they are requesting for things that, from your first thought, you are thinking that this thing is not possible in Power BI. I've gotten a lot of requests like that because approximately in the last 4 years, I've been in the consulting business. Actually, I just left, so I resumed a new job yesterday. So before yesterday, since January 2021, I was in the consulting business. So which in a way, I've had to interact with various stakeholders, and then you hear some crazy requests. But one important thing in your journey is that you need to place preference or place people ahead of what Power BI can do. When you get some of these requests, don't think of them to be crazy. They know what they want. All right. They know what they want. They know the kind of insight or the kind of values that this might give to them. And so for that reason, you may want to take a step backwards to go think about their request and not give them an outright no that Power BI cannot do it. Because I can tell you for a fact there are a lot and lot of workarounds for things in Power BI. Yes, at first it may seem not achievable, but if you look at some other tools that you can use with Power BI, all of these tools might actually make that thing achievable, and then you are happy, your stakeholders are also happy. That is the very important thing in your journey. You must always ensure that you make the people that you're working with, they are all happy. So, all right, so let's go now to look question as we go on. Please feel free to drop them on the chat if you would want us to. We should have about 5 minutes later to go through questions when we are wrapping up, hopefully. But if you have any questions along the line, so you don't forget, you can drop them on the chat for me. So the case study we want to look at. So this is a live or a real case study actually. So this case study was shared for a recruitment purpose, but I don't want to tell us the organization so that it doesn't become a breach of some privacy. But this is what the question is. So now the client runs a business. They're into the sales of wines. And so what they now want is that they have consulted you as a super analyst that you should help them with the analysis from these three different perspectives. Number one is they want to know their net sales. And for the net sales, they want to know what the total amount will be, what's the total amount they've realized in the business over the period that the data is for. I think we have 2 years of data. Then, excuse me, they want to know the variance by month, and they want to know the top 5 customers by the net sales. So what are top 5 customers when we look at how much revenue we realize from them? And some customer analysis here, which is number one is how many customers did we have over the period? What is the variance in the number of customers? And whenever you hear variance, what variance is about is it's all about comparison. So it's just to say that, for example, when we say variance by month, what that means is that we are looking at what is the change in the number of customers when we go from one month to the other. If you look at our presence in the class, today on this call, this afternoon, we are 20. Let's assume that the call we had much earlier today, we were 30. So if you want to calculate the variance will be 20, which is the current, minus the previous, which was 30, and that gives you minus 10. So 20 minus 30 is minus 10. So that minus 10 that you get is an absolute variance. All right, so people from statistic backgrounds, they will relate with this, but it's something that everybody can understand. So now you may now want to convert that into a percentage, and that's why you do a very simple calculation to say that the current, which is 20, minus the previous, which is 30, divided by the previous, which is 30. So now we are saying that 20 minus 30, which is minus 10, divided by 30, which is minus 1 over 3, and that will give you minus 33%. So the interpretation of that just simply means that we are 33% less than what we had in the previous class. So that's what our variance translates to. And from customers' perspective, we also want to know the number of customers that we lost or gained over the year. What this translates to, so normally is, I'll come back to that. Then we have the products sold category. They want to look at what's the total 9-liter volume that we got in the business. So the way that the business records the volume is to record it by they just call it 9-liter because the carton is a 9-liter carton. So and they defined it to be that 9-liter is used as a measure of volume. It represents a standard case or a standard carton of 12 times 75 cl bottle. So there are 12 bottles in that carton, which each of them is 75 cl. So it's just like saying that you buy a carton of Eva water, and each of the bottles is 75 cl, and in there you have 12 of those. So that is what a carton means to them. And so they want to calculate the average cost per 75 cl bottle per customer. So just so that we understand this case study properly, for the sales category, we want to know the total sales. We want to know how our sales are changing from a month to the other. And we want to know the top 5 customers by how much they brought into our business. That is for the sales side of things. Very simple and straightforward. For customers, we want to know the total customers that we had over the period. We want to know the change in the number of customers every single month, and want to know the number of customers we lost or gained over the month. And for the lost or gained, so this is how the business translated it to be, which is a case of, let's say that last month we had 30 customers last month. And so that is 30 customers that did business with us, that bought something from us last month, which is the first month of our business. Now, going into this month, which is the second month of our business, from the 30 customers, 20 customers bought this month. So you know that we started with 30 customers. Now, 20 customers bought this month. It means that we've lost 20, 30 minus 20, we've lost 10 customers. That's what it means to lose an account for this business. It's not general, for this business. And so we now add extra 3 customers that bought from us this month, all right, that did not buy last month. It means that those 3, they are just new customers. This month is their first time of buying with us. Those would account to be gained accounts, gained customers. So the idea is to look at those that bought this month, and we are checking whether these people that bought this month, they bought last month. How many people bought this month that did not buy last month? Those will be accounts gained. How many people bought last month that did not buy this month? Those will be account lost. If this makes sense to you, please give it a thumbs up. If you have a question, let me know. Okay. Some are sitting on the bench or on the fence. Okay, I see a couple of thumbs up. Anybody has a question? All right. Thanks, everybody. So, and then for the volume, it's pretty much straightforward here. So that's the case study. So let me go into, so Tolu, what do you want me to explain again? Is it in lost and gained? Okay. So when you say lost and gained for customers in this context, what we are saying is that we are looking at, let's say that this is the month of November. The month of October is when we started this business, and we started with 10 customers. Now, we want to know how consistently are these 10 customers buying from us, or how consistently are they transacting with us. So now, month of October, we had 10 customers. That was the start of our business. Month of November now, after the end of the month, we now realize that from the 10 customers, only 8 customers transacted with us in the month of November. What that would mean is 8 customers transacted with us in the month of November, 10 transacted with us in the month of October. It means that we are 2 less than the number of transactions, number of customers that transacted with us in the month of October. What that would mean is that we lost 2 customers. And then we now add 3 extra customers that transacted with us in the month of October. So actually, in the month of November, so which is the current month, 11 people transacted with us. 8 of whom transacted with us in the previous month. That's why we said, because only 8 from the 11 that transacted with us in the current month did business with us in the previous month. That's why we said we lost 2 customers, because 10 people did business with us in the previous month. But there are 3 people now that did business with us in this month that never was with us in the previous month. So those 3 people will now be accounts gained. Does this make sense to you, Tolu? Okay, good. So let's go into Power BI now, and let's see how we can resolve this.
Hello, sir.
Go on, please.
So thank you, sir. So are we working on data sets? You would like to, you can share with us. I want to create our data frame.
I'll share it after the class.
Okay, sir. Maybe we want us to be on the same page. Also, or that will be working on laptop with you, sir.
I don't think you can follow. So because
Okay.
yeah, you can't follow this. There's a lot of docs that I've written already. So we are doing visualization alone. So we are not writing those docs here.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So if you look at this now, this is our report page. Just to show us the model quickly. This is what the model looks like. This is the fact table. This is the customers dimension table, and I have a calendar table here. I have a couple of other tables here. The last refresh table, this items count, this is a parameter. It does, you probably wouldn't have known about that yet, but you can create parameters in Power BI. We'll see how to use that. And then I have a table that I have for all of the measures. So all the measures that I've written, I have a table for them here, which are the measures that would answer all of those calculations. So some measures may seem a bit complicated, much more than what you probably have been introduced to. But this is what we have here anyways. But how do we now start to look at answering that question? The very first thing when it comes to visualization is that you need to sort of have a mock-up. It's nice to have a mock-up. What does a mock-up mean? So it's just you scribbling out or sketching how you want to put things together on your report. Looking at our report has 3 sections. We have a section for sales, we have a section for customers, and we have a section for products. For me, I would like to group them in this way. So I want to divide my report page to 3. I want to have a section for sales, I want to have a section for customers, and I want to have a section for product. So what I would do is to come here. First is I'm gonna insert a shape here at the top. That would be like a banner here that runs all across the report page. And then I want to duplicate this so that I use that to create the 3 sections of my report. Excuse me. So I do this, I duplicate this. Excuse me, a bit under the weather. So I have these 3 sections here now. So which is, I want to have everything sales on one section, everything customers on another, and everything products on the last section. This is how I want to group my report. Because remember, we discussed the clap principle, which part of it is the linkage, which is about how do you want to group things together, related items, so that guides how your report users would go about using your report. So now, once this is done, then I need to now start to look at my report question again and say, okay, how do I then go about answering these questions, which is what all of the DAX that you would have written would have done for you. I've written all of those DAX already. Then how do we now start to visualize? For net sales, want to look at the total net sales. What visual do you think would be most appropriate for that? Total net sales, what visuals should we use for that and why?
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Since we have a data that spans over a period of 2 years, maybe we could use a line chart because of the duration that spans beyond 12 months.
Okay, but let's look at the total now. total net sales. Okay, Latifa said bar charts. Okay. Anybody else wants to try? Okay, bar charts. Okay. Okay, table. Okay, column. Okay, so let me help you a bit up. So this is how to think about the choice of your visuals. Maybe some things would have been discussed around this much earlier today, but there are rules and there are guides. So one of the books that you should strive to read is a book called Showing Your Numbers or Showing the Numbers. It should either be Showing the Numbers or Showing Your Numbers. That should be the title of the book. It was written by Stephen Few. Stephen Few, that's the name of the author. So you should read that book. So when you want to display single numbers, single values, you should use a card visual. All right. You should use a card visual. That's what you should use. Stephen Few. That's the name of the author. So you should use a card visual when you want to display single numbers. When you want to display something over a period of time, you should use either your line chart or the area chart. But if you will be doing some level of comparison over a period of time, you have the option to use the column chart as well. That can still work. When you need some level of precision, you want to say precisely how what's your numbers are like. You want to show every single kobo, for example, and it's not a single whole value that you want to show. You should display that on a table. So maybe you want to break that down by different regions, for example. Maybe you want to break that down over a number of regions, for example, to say that in about the region, we realized 1,220,576 naira, 57 kobo. You want the numbers to be shown precisely that way, then you should use a table for that. When you're displaying something around the parts to all, you want to show the contribution of a portion of something to the entire thing. To say that, for example, in this class, we want to show the proportion of the female participant in this class against everybody. Then you should use a pie chart or a donut chart. I generally prefer a donut chart because it's easier to read. But you use pie chart or donut chart only when you are visualizing not more than 4 categories. If it's more than 4 categories, you should use a bar chart or you use a column chart. So these are some general rules around visualization. All right. So when we want to visualize total, okay, thanks for that. So when you want to visualize total, we should use the card visual. For variance by month, we'll be using our line visual. And then for top 5 customers by net sales, we'll be doing that over a table visual. So let's go to this. Let's see how this comes out to be. So first, I'll add a card visual here. So I'll put a card visual somewhere here. And then I'll pick the measure that I already wrote for total sales. I'll pull that here. And this is 551 million. But we can't say this clearly. So I'll just format this a bit quickly. I'll go to callout value. I change this, maybe I do a 25 for this. And then, yeah. So for the callout label, I probably do maybe 10. I'll do all of this formatting much later. So we've answered the first question, which is want to know the total sales. Variance by month, that's the month-to-month percentage variance. I have a measure that I already wrote for that. So, but we'll visualize this over the line chart. So I'll just add a line chart here. So I'll put a line chart here, for example. And then on the axis, I'll pick my month. I'll put that on the axis, and then I'll pick my, there should be a measure for month-on-month sales. Yes, this one. I'll put it on here like this. So yeah, we have, okay. So the other thing here, let me point us to this before I correct it, is if you look at our line chart here, all right, if you look at this line chart, it shows January, February down to December. But how many years of data do we have? Let me add a slicer, and then I would add the year to this. We have 2 years of data, so I'll just change these settings quickly. So I'll change this to a tau, and then I'll leave the other formattings. I'll just switch off the header as such. I'll place this somewhere here. Don't worry, we'll format all of this later. So because we have 2 years of data, sorry. So because we have 2 years of data, it probably will make sense that we don't use just the month on this axis. So it's because one thing that you want to try to avoid in your reporting is bringing about some level of confusion. So if nobody is aware that there is a slicer that they can use to select the actual year to view, and then they are looking at January here, they are looking at this figure and they are thinking that, oh, January did 2,139% more than the previous period. So that would be a wrong judgment, because this way we get to confuse them, and then they will not be making any accurate decision of this report. So in this way, what you would do is that instead of using the month on the axis, I'll put the month and the year. So now this shows us that what we are looking at here is April 2020, then we have May 2020, and we have the other periods like that. And apparently we can now see that the last, we only have 2 years in the 2 months in the next year. We actually do not have the full year. All right. So we have answered this other question this way. Then let's look at the last question, which is top 5 customers by net sales. So I come here. How do we visualize our top 5 customers by net sales? We want to have our table visual here. So I just put the table. If you have questions along the line, just note that. So what we're talking about is visualization. That's why I'm not going into the details of the calculations here. So top 5 customers by net sales. So think about the question for the moment. Top 5 customers by net sales. What are the things that must appear on the table visual? Generally, we should have a list of the customers, because we want to know the customers, their names, and then we want to know their sales amounts, the amounts that they brought into our business. So I'll come here, I'll come to my customers table, I'll select the customer names, which here is written this way, just like the customer ID. And then I'll come in here and select our net sales. So here's the net sales, which is the total sales. I'll pick that here. And the top 5, okay. Let me show you something. So normally, if I want to take this in a steady manner so that we are not confused. If you look at what we have here now, these are all our customers, and we have the sales amount of the customers. If I go on to sort the total amount, if I just click on the header here, so now the numbers are sorted. And for the moment, we see that this guy actually is the guy that is our top customer. This is the second, third, fourth, and fifth. A way to go about this is to come here to the filters pane and we apply our filter on the customers normally. To come here to customers, and then I come here, instead of the basic filtering, I do a top end filter, and I come here to say that I want to show top 5 customers by the total sales. And I say apply filter. If I do that, this is what I would see. So I have a list of the customers and I have my table filtered to the top 5 customers, which already answers this question. All right. It answers this question. But from what we discussed earlier, which is a case of you need to think much ahead to say that what other flexibility can you allow the users to have. So at the moment, they're asking for top 5 customers. What if they come next time and they say that they want the flexibility to be able to select the number of customers that they want to see? If they don't want to see 5 customers, they want to see the top 10 customers, they want to be able to see that, and they don't know Power BI, so they cannot be coming here to the filter space to make this filter happen. So this is one of the cases that you will need your DAX knowledge to do a workaround for. So I've written the DAX already. So I'll just show us what it looks like, not essentially going through the nitty-gritty, so we are not confused. So first is I have a top customer measure here. So I have 2 measures, so I can just expand this a bit so I see all of the names. So I have 2 measures here. I have a top customer measure and I have a top customer percentage contribution measure. So I'll select both and I add them both to this report. So you see that this report has broken, and this is because of the fact that there is something else that I need to add to make this work. So I'll take this out for the moment, and then I'll come here to select to add a slicer here. Let me just reduce the size of this. I'll add a slicer here, and for my slicer, I need to pick something. This items count. And one thing, so we learn a tip here. One thing you should always do in your report is that any table that you don't want your users to have access to, you should hide that table. If you look at what I have here, if you look at all the tables here, that are about 6 tables here, there are 6 tables on here, but when you switch to the report view, you see only 4. So initially it was 3. Because I unhid this table, that's why it's now 4. So any single table that you don't need your users to have access to, you should take them off the report view. So there's an option to hide. If you just right click or you go to the table itself here. So you see this icon here. If you click on it, it just hides the entire table, hides all the columns. And one of the tables you should always hide is your facts table, because for all your calculations, you would have written measures for them. So you don't need to show your facts table there. All right, so I'll come here to this slicer, and then I'll add the items count, and I'll say this. So now what this would do is that this items count slicer is what will now allow my users to be able to select how many customers do they want to display. So I'll come here, I'll just bring this here. Don't worry, we'll arrange this. All of this will come out nicely soon. So I can just quickly take out a few things. I take out the slicer header, and then I can sort of just collapse this a bit more, and I leave it this way. So what you would notice here is if I come into the slicer box and I put 8 here, I hit enter, you see now that my customer list expands and now it's showing top 8. And another thing that I added here is that every other customers will now be wrapped into orders. So there is a technique to manage this also in Power BI. So we have this on here. So let me just go on to add my other measure here, so that this is completed. So here, then top percentage. So we have this now, and then you see that this guy, who is the top customer, he actually brought in 46% of our total revenue. So I'll leave this this way for now. So we have answered all of the questions for. If you have a question, please, you could just raise your hand so that I am aware that you have a question. So let's go back to our case study quickly. We have answered all of the questions here. Total sales, variance by month, and top 5 customers by the net sales. We've answered all of this. If you go quickly to the customers now, I'll come here. I can duplicate this card to show the total customers as the request is. So I say that I have a customer measure here. We have 602 customers. And then there is also a question on the variance. There is a question on the variance, which I'll just say pick from here, customer month-on-month percentage. This is what we have. And then there's a question on the accounts trends, number of lost and gained accounts over the year. There are two options to this. Number of lost and gained account over the year. If you've been following this conversation, you probably would have an idea that maybe we should use the line chart for this. Yes, a line chart could work. Alternatively, we may want to use the column chart, and I will show us why in a moment. So I'll come in here. I'll use my column chart. So I'm going to just duplicate this chart, Control C, Control V. Thanks for that. So I'll come in here and then I change this into a stacked column chart like this. And I pick the lost and gained accounts. So gained accounts and the lost accounts. I place them here. And for the lost accounts, one of the things that you'll notice here is that the lost account is sort of inverted. So what I did is, let me just show us the measure for the lost account, and so that you understand what's happening here. So I'll just zoom into this. This measure here, what it's doing is this, literally. All of these that you see here, they are variables. So we have the concept of variables in DAX as well. For those of us that you probably will be coming from a programming background, you'll be aware of what variables are. So variables, essentially, they are containers. They hold certain calculations for you. And then later in your calculation line, you can call on those variables and they return whatever results they have in them for you. So what I'm doing here is this variable looks at the current month, which is the month in context. Let me not, I don't want to go into the DAX conversation. But for the current month account, this would show us, we'll create a virtual table that lists every single customer that bought in the current month. This would list all of the customers that bought in the previous month. And then this except is more like saying that you are doing, what is this equivalent to in your SQL? So you are doing, in Power Query, it is an anti. So when you're doing your merge in Power Query, that is an anti. So you are saying what is in first table that is not in the second table. So something like that. That is what this is doing. But the point I want to show here is when this counts the number of customers in that table that will be left in the table, I now multiplied it by -1 because I want the lost account to show as negative. And because I'd multiplied it by -1, that's why you see that for all of the lost accounts, you see that there's an inversion here and the column is downwards. If I didn't do this, the columns will be stacked one on top of the other because both are positive for the period. But this is just a visualization trick, and this is something that will make the translation of your report easier for people to understand. So let me leave it at this for now. So for the product side, is something that you can complete much later. So let's now start to look at how can we now implement all of the design features that we've learned, all of the design principles that we've learned, and make this look much nicer. The very first thing is thinking about it. We are done with the report, actually. our report is ready. We've visualized every single thing that the stakeholders would want to see. Additionally, what I may just want to add here to look at, not just looking at the actual total sales figure, I may want to show this trend of the total sales figure as well. So I just come in here, I add a line chart, for example, and then for the line chart, I just add my total sales, and then I add the month and the year like this. And I just make this much smaller, something like this, something like this, and then we run some formatting on this. So let's clean up all of these charts first, and we'll come back to how we can beautify things. I'm conscious of our time. So I'll come in here. All of these, I believe we will have known them. So I'll just come into the x-axis for this. Okay, the y-axis, I switch up the values, I switch up the title, and then for the x-axis, do I still have it up? So I have the x-axis up here, so why can't I switch it off? So I switch off the title, I switch off the values as well. And then what again do I want to add? Maybe that's all for now. I just do this here. And because I want this not to wrap at all, I'll create a bit more size here, just some room. And so I can expand this a bit more. So I have this like this. Okay, another thing that is available here is just like you have, for those of you that are coming from Excel background, you can come here to lines, and then there's an option to make the line smooth. Let me see where that option is again. Solid line, smooth line. So here, interpolation type, you can make it smooth. So instead of having all of these edges on the lines, you can actually make it smooth. So, and then for the title here, I'm going to switch up that title. I typically don't use that title there. I use something else. So I switch that off. I can make this slightly smaller. The recording of this, I believe, will be available so you can catch up with this. And so for this one, I'll just make this slightly bigger like this. And I'll go in here, I'll take out this title on the y-axis, which is something that you typically would want to do. And the same thing on the x-axis, because as soon as we are looking at the chart, we are able to see what the chart is about. So you don't need to retain the titles on the x and the y-axis. And then I go to the line again, go here to interpolation, and then I make the line smooth. As such, you may want to include data labels. So I switch on data labels like this, and maybe a few other things. For example, you want to add some conditional formattings, so you can do that all as well. But I will come back to that in a minute. So I come here to this table, I come here to style preset, go to default, and then I make this minimal. And I come here to column headers. You can make this bold. So the headers are in bold, can change the colors and stuff. All right, so now, how then do you make a choice of the color to use? The first is, for most organizations that you work with, they would have a brand color. Organizations would mostly have a brand color. If you're new to the organization, you need to request for what their brand color is. So they give you a list of all of the colors, the fonts, the sizes, the font sizes, the font colors, the background colors that you can use, the themes that you can use. They give you a list of all of that, and then you implement that in your report. Other times you are not working with the organization, but you want to implement their brand color on the report. So what you can do is to get a hold of their logo, and then you can use the logo to generate the colors that you can use. So you go to a website like this. So if I bring up the browser here, so if you go to this website, coolers.co, let me sort of drop that on the chart for you guys. So if you go here to colos.co, when you get in here, if you have a logo that you want to copy the exact colors from, you can come here to start the generator. And when you come here to start the generator, you come here to this camera icon, you click on this, and then you upload the logo here. Let me see if I have one that I can use here. If I come here to desktop, I have one here, pictures. So let me pick this logo, for example. I put this here. So once I upload this logo, what this would do is it extracts all of the colors that are on this logo and it places them here. So if I click on next and I say open in the generator, you see that from that logo, these are all of the colors that are there. And these are the combination of colors that you can implement on your report. Other times, what you may want to do is you don't have a logo you want to copy color from, then you can come here to this option that says explore trending palettes. So if I click on this option, so from this option, you see a lot of palettes that people have created. What this just tells you is that these are combination of colors that would blend well on your report or on your design generally. So maybe let's just explore one here. For example, so let me say maybe this one here, for example. If this is what I want to implement on the report, I can just come here to the ellipsis and I open this palette. So now that I've opened this palette, then I can now begin to use these colors on my report. So the interesting thing here is because this gives you the X codes for the colors, so you can just pick the X code for these colors and then you implement on your report. So let's go now. So I go back to my report. Generally, as a rule, the banner at the top will typically have the deepest color within the color combinations that you want to use. So I come here, I want to use this black for it. So I click on copy this code, and then I come here to this banner at the top. I go to style. For the field, I come here to more colors, and then you just paste what you copied. So which is this X code. So I paste that there, I switch off the border, and then I'm sort of done with the banner at the top. And so I'll just quickly format my slicer here, go in here to general, to effect. I'll switch off the background of the slicers, and then I come in here to values. I'll switch off the background for the values. I'll just make it take the exact background of this. And the font, I'll make it now white. Okay, so I've sort of formatted my slicer at the top. So now, once I've done this, then I want my report to have a name. So I would insert a text box here. Let's say that this is data viz 1.0 reports. So I'll reduce the size of this and I'll place this on here and I'll format all of this quickly. I come here to effect, I switch off the background, and then I come here to the text. So the font color I want to give to this, I can come here, I can pick this, maybe this is yellow. I can pick this, and then I come here to the font, I highlight this, come here to the font, more colors, I'll paste this here, and we have this. So I can just increase the font size of this from 10 to maybe 14, and then I make this bold as well. So we have this at the top, and you see that it's looking like something that is usable. So now, then I want to sort of create an information that tells people that whatever you see here is for sales, whatever you see here is for our customers. So I would insert a shape at the top. So I'll just come here to shapes. I'll pick this rectangle. I'll place it just right above what I have here. So I can give this a little more room like this. And then for this shape, I come in here because I want to write a text. So I come in here to the text and then I say this is net sales. So this is net sales here. But for the background of that, maybe I want to use this blue. So I come here to the field, I go to more colors, I give this here, and yeah, and then I take out the border. So this is for this one. Then remember that I have a shape at the back. So which is this blue thing I have right at the back. So one thing you may want to do is you probably may want to change the color so that it blends somehow with the other colors that you have used, but it has to be a color that is not distracting at all, such as the ash color that we see here. So I'll pick this ash color. I come here to style. I go to field. I go to more colors and I paste this here. That is the ash color that we see here. But again, it's because, yes, it's ash and then it's not too pronounced, but I like that it's even much more transparent because what I want to display is what is on it, not necessarily that I have a background for this. So what I would do here is to come here to transparency and let's say we give it about 75% transparent. So I come here, I do 75% transparent, or maybe even more than. So we do like 85% transparent like this. And this is what we have. So now, before we leave there, I'll just look at all of these cards first, and then I take out the background for all of the visuals that I have here. All of them should take the background of the actual shape that we see here. I take this out. So you see how this will be in a minute. Take this all out. And then for this guy here, I take out the background as well. And then for this blue thing that we see here is the border. So I can come here to style, I go to border. It's either I switch it off completely or I give it a almost the same color as this. So it only just shows slightly there. So now I've been able to create a group for everything that has to do with sales, and we see how this looks at the moment. So a few things that we just need to clean up. So the lines here should typically take a more closely related color. So I can come here to this line. The lines here, I go to the color of the line. I come here to colors and I use this color for it. I do the same thing here. This is the color. And then the other thing that I want to do is to do a conditional formatting here. I come here, if you want to do conditional formatting, so a few options depending on the visual. For some visual, if you come here to what you dropped in the axis and you come to the drop down here, you see an option for conditional formatting here. But for the line chart, you probably need to come in here to, is a line of markers. Let me see where this will be. Um, so, sometimes I forget where this is, but I don't think it's called conditional formatting. So I do conditional formatting, and then I come in here. This is effects, this is guidelines, this is data labels. So you can apply formatting on data label, but that's not what I want. Not on the grid lines. 1 second, not on the title. the values, what value is this? This is x-axis, this is y-axis, this is title, this is secondary y-axis, this is the effect, this is grid lines, and the data labels. 1 second, there should be a way to conditionally format this one. So I come here to color. Okay, color doesn't have. Then maybe this will be with let's say the markers. Yep, so it's yes. So now for the markers here, you see that it just shows circles all around here. If I come here to the color of the markers, so we cannot conditionally format the marker here. Let's see how then can we format this. If we go to data model, data label, the value here, color of this, let me do this first. If I come here to say that it should use the rows when this is greater than or equal to 0 and less than equal to maximum, I want this to be green, a search, and then if it is greater than or equal to the minimum number and it's less than 0, I want this to be red. So I do okay. Okay, so this formats the actual data label, but I want to format the marker. So where is the formatting for the marker itself? Anyways, so let me not waste too much time on that. We'll figure out. All right, so we have 20 more minutes. So what we're doing is let's just see how we can make things much more usable here, which is a case of how do we make the titles should translate to something that is more meaningful. And the slides are here now. There is no information as to telling people that they can actually type something in here. So I would add a text box, can add a text box here. And then I can say that type in the number of customers to display, something like this. And then I just reduce the size of this guy. I reduce the font to this. Then I bring this guy on here. So I come in here to effects, I switch off the background, and then I come here. I just want to show them the direction of where they will be typing something in. So I put this here. So the arrow is pointing to the back. Now this is where you're supposed to type something in. And maybe you want to change the color. So let's look at, maybe we pick this color here. And then I come back here. I change the font color to this guy. So we have this here. So you may want to probably italicize this. That would call people's attention again. All right, so I have this here. Then for this one, just something more descriptive on the title. So we can say that the question of the report is that this should be month-on-month percentage variance. So I clean out all of these. So I say this is month-on-month percentage variance. So this is here, and then we can make the color and the font just something that is uniform. So I can use this trebuchet, and then the text color can be the same color here. And I change the font to maybe a 12 like this. I'll do the same formatting here for the sales. So this would be on the category label. Remember that your fonts must be uniform. So maybe you want to make this bold here. So the same thing here, want to make this title bold as well. And yeah, And then for this trend here, we just want our users to know what this is about. So I would add a text box as well. I'll just pick this guy. I'll copy and paste. And then I bring this down here. And here I just call this sales trend. So I make this bold. I take out the italics and then I center align this. I just place this somewhere here. So you see now that this is coming straight up as expected. So which is more like beyond the fact that we've been able to answer the questions that the business has asked, we've also been able to put things nicely in a way that it is easy to consume for the end users. So this same thing is what we need to now repeat for the other sections of this. Somebody said they can't hear me. Is this okay? Now you can. Okay, okay. All right, so which is a case of if I just copy this, I place this here, which is the banner here, then I can also just resize this so that it's well placed as this. And this one, we know that this section is for customers. So I'll just rename this to be customers like this. And I can copy all of the formatting that I've applied here by way of using the format painter. So just select the objects you want to copy the formatting from, and then you paint this. And now for the card visual, I want to copy the formatting, paste this, paste on this. For this line, I want to copy the formatting, paste on this. And then for this one, I just want to do something like this. So if I come in here, I go to the columns, and then for the gained account, I can say that gained account should come out in, that is positive. So it should come out in green, this dark green. And then I can say that the lost account should come out in red. So that is a loss to us in the business. So I just say this, maybe this lighter red in here. And then I add a data label. So I add a data label on here and I go into the title. So I say that this is the accounts trend, gain or loss. And the font has to be uniform. So, okay, for gain in brackets and loss like this. And then I go to the visual itself, y-axis, I switch off. And again, as soon as you have data labels on, you don't necessarily need to keep your y-axis because it's apparently doing the same thing. So I switch off this y-axis completely, and the x-axis, I switch off the title on here. So I'll do the same thing here. I need to switch off the y-axis values. I need to switch that off, and then I go into the title, and this is month-to-month variance. Why did I switch off the customer that's there? Because I have already created a customer section for this report. So people that are looking at this, they already have an idea that, okay, everything they're seeing here, it's about the customers. So obviously they know that this is customers month-to-month and variance. I don't need to put customer on here. So this same trend that I did for the line, I can do the same thing for the customers. So I place this here, just reduce the size of this, and then I change the measure from total sales to customers. and I format this. Nope. So I just come here to line, and then I go down to colors, take this color for this, take this color for this as well. And I pick this, copy, paste. I bring this all here. Okay, so all right, so we have, this is what we have answering that particular question. There are a few things that you may want to add. The slicer that we see at the top here as well, we may want to give an information that this is actually the slicer by way of just using a text box. Remember that usability is very important when it comes to creating reports. So I can just come in here and I say that select a period, for example, and I show them where this is. So this is at the front, and I make this maybe a white font like this. So reduce this, and this is here. So this is just a simple or an example of how we can go on to create reports based on the requests from the business. And we have just tried to deal with a case study and seeing how this would translate to something that comes that we can actually build as a solution to that particular case study. We have a few minutes left. If we have some questions, we can ask our questions at this point in time. And the last box there is just repeating the same thing, which is answering the question on the product. We have written the DAX already, visualizing that maybe using a table, and then we run our formatting the same way that we did for the other ones. So this is typically how we can go about creating reports in the business. Remember the clap principle essentially is you are not creating visuals for the sake of design. You are creating visuals, you are creating reports so that the business can make sense of what is happening or what you're trying to give to them as part of the findings from your own analysis. That is the essence of the reports that you're creating. But the only thing that I think that we've not shown here is the pay attentive attributes that talks about contrast. So I'll just show us something on that quickly. So if I add a column chart, for example, I put a column chart here. And then on this column charts, let me just for this for the sake of this example, I will add the month, and then I add customers. And so when you have a visual like this, what you would notice is that people typically would be tempted to, nope. So people typically will be tempted to look at all of the single bars that you have. They are tempted to go through every single bar that you have. A pre-attentive attribute that you can use to say that, for example, you want them to focus on the October bar. That's what you want them to focus on. And they focus less on every other thing is to make October bar stand out from every other thing. How do we achieve that? So let me just clean this up quickly. Take this out, take this out. And then I'll take the title out on the x-axis. So it's to go to the columns, and then for the columns, first is I will give all of the columns almost the same color. So I gray everything out like this. And now I can now go into saying that I want to go specifically to October. And for the color of October, I want to give October this green color, for example. So now what you have done here now is an application of pre-attentive attributes, which is now to say that if you think about it yourself as well, when you look at this vision now, looking at it at a glance, your eyes go to this green bar first before looking at any other thing. So that is how the human eyes and the brain works. Whatever stands out in a crowd or in a group of things is what your eyes catches first, and then your eyes now begin to look at every other thing. But what your eyes catches first is whatever stands out. So this is how to apply contrast in the clap principle, linkage in the clap principle, which is about grouping things as they are related. That's what we have applied here, which is putting all of the sales figures together, all of the visuals or reports. We have put all of them together like this. That is a way using linkage. Alignment, you see that things are properly aligned. If you want to be exceptionally sure that they are properly aligned, you can look at the position. So you click on this one, and then you come here to general, you come to properties. If you come here to position, you see that this is at 1265, and that's the position of this. If you look at this, this is also at 65. So it tells you that at the height level, they are at the same level. So if you want to just be 100% sure, you can highlight the two like this by way of using control to select, multi-select, and you come here to format. You have an align feature here. And for example, let's say that this was here. Let's say this was here for whatever reason, something like this. Instead of manually dragging it up, just select this. You want it to be at the same level as this. You come here to format, you go here to align, and you say align top. So once you see align top, Power BI helps you to put them at the same level right at the top. So that is alignment. It is something that you must ensure that always happens. So these cards now, I need these cards to be at the same level. So I just come here, I do align, I say align top. Anything that wasn't at the same level would have shifted that way, and now they will be at the same level. So that's how to manage that. And then for pattern, it's you ensuring that your visual clues, your visual elements, they are of uniform. They are uniform in font color. So the title here has the same color as the title here. The headers here, I need to make them the same color. This title here has to take the same color. And then your actual figures, the font style, the font color must be the same. So that is the application of that. Okay, so I think this a good place to put this conversation to a halt. If you have any question, please let me know so we can take that in the next 5 minutes, and then we call it a close. I really hope that we got something from the session today, and I'm hoping that you will be able to implement this going forward. If you have questions, I'm here with us. Okay, looks like we don't have questions. Aisha, I think you're the admin. Maybe I will leave it over to you. Latifa, do you have a question?
Okay, I think there is a question on the chat for you, sir.
Okay.
Will the data set be made available to us to practice with?
Yeah, I can share the data sets. That's not a problem.
All right. Thank you very much. Do we have anybody who has a question to ask? Questions, please.
Is it just my own question is just I need a clarification on the difference between dashboard and report. Network got really bad when he was explaining that stuff.
Okay, so dashboard so your report, what you create in Power BI, what we have here, this is a report. So you can have multiple pages. What we have done is just a single page. You can have pages of like 3, 4, 5, 10, maybe 30 pages, depending on how complex your report is. I've built reports running into about 40 pages before. So you can have as many pages as that. But for dashboard, it must be a single page. And the idea of a dashboard is you look at each of the page of your report and you pick out any visual that is of importance or of most importance. You pick that and pin on the dashboard. So it's more like looking at the net sales page like this, and then you're saying that, okay, this total sales card is important. So you pin this to a excuse me, you pin this to a dashboard. You look at the customers, you see, okay, this account gain or loss is important. You pin it to a dashboard. You look at other pages like that, you pin them to different dashboards as such. So that way, you will now eventually have a dashboard that would have the most important elements from your entire report. And that is done on the Power BI service. You can create a dashboard on the desktop. I hope that clarifies it. Mutia, you have your hand up.
Thank you very much, sir, for this very impressive class you gave us today. However, sir, we have to practice so that we can also learn from our practice. How do we get the DAS of all the majors we have created? Because we have been taught how to build majors and DAS, but this is still more than what we have been taught. So how do we get to know how do we write our DAS and then use it to get exactly what you have gotten here? Thank you once again for the class, sir.
Okay, so essentially, it's one thing with DAX is you can't be whatever training you attend, whether paid or not paid, you can't be 100% with DAX based on training. It's not possible. And anybody that says it's possible, I'm ready to debate the person. It's not possible. So because DAX has to do with application and it has to do with thought process. So the way you can get better with your DAX is first is learn the foundations properly. And by learning the foundations properly, you know the aggregate measures. So aggregate measures, they are the sum, mean, max, count, distinct count, all of those things that you've been taught. You should know the iterator functions, sum x, average x, mean x, max x, why you should use them, you should know them. You should know your table functions, functions that would normally return a table for you. Because when you talk about measures, measures naturally will return single numbers. They return scalar values. But there are functions in DAX that will return tables. So you should know those table functions, like your filters, like your calculate table, like your all values and the likes of those. Then you should know functions that can be used to create columns. And then you should know calculate as a function and how you can use it for context transition. So some of the things that I'm talking about might not be clear yet, but just giving you pointers to what is important. So when you get a good hang of all of this, then you now marry your problem solving skill set with what you know in DAX, and that will tell you how you can now combine things together to solve whatever case you find yourself in. So the point is, even if I share these measures that I've written here, I share it with you, I can tell you for a fact that some people that have been in this space for 5, 10 years, they may not even be able to explain what is happening here. So because the one thing with DAX is about solving problems. And it's about your thought process of towards solving that problem would be what would influence how you combine what you're combining in your formula or in your calculation. So the way I've put together the calculation, if you try to break it down by what each of the function would do singly, you would not be able to understand what I'm trying to achieve with them. So what I would suggest is, I'm not sure, but maybe yes, maybe you've had a DAX class already. Go and revisit DAX class, watch it over and again, over and again, over and again, so that more like every single thing that must have been done in that class syncs well with you. You are not cramming. You understand why the facilitator did what. So when you are at that level, if you go to Google, you search for DAX documentation. So DAX has a documentation. There's a summarized or abridged version that lists out every single function that we have in DAX, and it shows you just a brief explanation of what the function does and an example of what you can use it to achieve. That is a good piece to read. So if you have some time, maybe you are able to read, even if it's just a page a day or 2 pages a day. So it's just less than maybe around 700 pages. It means that in a year or thereabout, you finish reading it. So it's not about cramming. So it's about you just reading to understand what's the function, what Microsoft says the function will do, and then an example of a problem they tried using the function to solve. When you have those, unconsciously or subconsciously, you have those information in your head. So when you are faced with a scenario, you already would know that, okay, for this scenario, I need a keep filters function, I need calculate table function, I need summarize function, I need add columns function, I need sumx function. You know the different functions that you use. Then what you now need to do is to sit down to now think around, how do I combine them? So that is how DAX works. So DAX is not about copying, okay, this person did it this way, you're copying it. You will not grow, you will not improve. So it's about understanding properly the fundamentals, and then you are now thinking around each problem, tying it down to what you've learned, and now seeing how can you implement what you've learned to solving what the problem you have at hand. So that's how it works. Um, how My takeaway from the session has been that I should get better with my data modeling. It is the orb I don't understand this. Yeah, Aisha, if you do understand, or if the person is still on the call, you can ask their question. But I'm not sure I understand what he's asking.
I think Tolu Bushi asked the question.
Say that
Tolu,
again.
you said mute yourself and
Well, what I'm trying to say about that is, firstly, thank you for this session. I think this is one of my best sessions so far. But I'm only saying that from what you've mentioned, highlighted, that means once you try to get better with data modeling, in order to be able to manipulate or get best outcome with visualization. But just saying that that means is what is telling me, I might be wrong, is that it's more like to get better as a data uh, business or data analyst, you need to get better with data modeling. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, although when we talk about data modeling is pretty much a field on its own. So that's why you probably would have seen some job roles advertised and they are asking for data modelers. So because data modeling is a career on its own, and data modeling differs depending on where you want to play in the data ecosystem. If you want to be a data engineer, the way or the depth at which you need to go with data modeling is way, way deeper than if you want to be an analyst. But for you as an analyst, the data modeling that you need to pay attention to is learn properly what it means to have a facts table, what it means to have a dimension table, what are the properties of facts tables and dimension tables, how do you create an efficient date table in Power BI, how do you manage a star schema in Power BI, you need to have that properly done. Then you're thinking around all of the nuances around cardinality, one-to-many relationship. If you have a many-to-many relationship, how do you resolve it? If you have a one-to-one relationship, is this something that you should keep? All of these nuances are things that you need to learn and understand properly so that you have the right approach to your visualization. Because again, if your data modeling is wrong, if I look at a report and I see that the data model doesn't make sense, I can tell the person straight blank that their numbers are not correct. It is something that it's from experience. So if your data modeling is not properly done, you have a bad data model. I'm looking at a model and I'm seeing many-to-many relationship up and down. I don't need to look at your numbers to validate anything. I can tell you point blank that your numbers are wrong. So, and all of this will come out from your understanding of how a model should be structured, especially within Power BI. So you need to learn all of those things that I've mentioned, and you need to pay attention to them when you're looking at other people's work. So when you're looking at the report that somebody shared with you, you look at how they structure their model, you should be able to question some things that, okay, why is this the key used in the relationship and not this other one? Why do you have a many-to-many relationship? Why do you have a one-to-one relationship? Because the ideal relationship you should have on a star schema is one-to-many. All right, so those are some of the things that you need to pay attention to. I don't know if that was helpful to know.
It's helpful, sir.
All right. Any other
Okay,
thing?
if we don't have, do we still have questions, please? Do we have questions? Okay, if we don't have any, we would like to thank Muhsin for this beautiful lecture. I'm sure we all go back and look at the recordings to work with the data sets he promises to send. I'm sure he's going to send it maybe before the end of the day. Thank you so much, sir. We are very grateful and we hope to make you proud along the line. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you too. Thanks, everybody.
All right. I think
bye.
the class ends now. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.